There you are. Hi. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted. Down like in the left corner, it's like there's like a little microphone that's like crossed out. Maybe if you go
Oh,
down, do you see it? Yep, there you are. Okay.
got
So
it.
I'm gonna share my screen so that you can share if you want to, like if you have something else, but then do you want me to just be in charge of it and you can just tell me to just go to the
Yeah.
next slide? Is that easier for you? Okay.
What if it's not a whole hour?
It doesn't matter. No, it
Okay. I
doesn't
kind
matter. I
of wish
told
I would
people.
have like test run this. I haven't test run it. I'm just gonna pretend.
That's okay. I love it, right? Fake
Okay.
it till you make it. This is your first time. But really like people don't like if there's it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time. Like people were like, how long is it gonna be? I'm like, probably less than an hour, about an hour. And then I
Okay.
just went on and put it to 2 hours just because I didn't want it to cut us off if for some
Right.
people start talking more. But I didn't want people to think it was gonna be the full 2 hours, like I just don't want it to cut us off. So
Right. And do people typically open it up for questions or do they just say if you have a question, put it in the chat?
So you can do either way. So if you'd rather like get through everything and then have questions, or if you want to have questions per slide, you could just say, if you have a question, that's fine. Just put it in the chat and Ida will kind of monitor and stop me when I have a stopping point. But we can do either way, and we can do like you can say that like we're gonna open it for questions at the end. So if you have questions, put them in the chat, and we'll start with those chat questions when we're at the end or something. That way, if they think of something, they can just put it in the chat.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I mean, sometimes when I'm teaching a class, I'll just be like, if you don't have any background noise, feel free to unmute and you can ask me questions. But this is a little bit different than a CE class, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like you want to get what you want to say first and then kind of have people ask you questions about what you've said. But if they can put it in the chat, they won't forget. And then we can just go through the
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. Is this being recorded? Someone asked me that because they wanted me to
Yeah.
share it. Okay.
Yep. I did record it so that we can share it because other people ask me that too. They're like, I can't jump on, but I want to see it. And
Okay.
so, yeah. Okay, so you should be able to see, let me go to your first slide. Can you see
There
your
we
first
go.
slide? Okay. So, and then let me just go up here. Just want to make sure I can see the chat. And then people will just start jumping in and usually like it's kind of fast. So right now there's 4 people in the waiting room, but what happens usually is like I'll start. I think what I want to do, if it's okay with you, is kind of start and introduce you while people are kind of jumping on. Because usually people are like 5 to 10, sometimes even 15 minutes late to things.
Okay.
So, like, and I'm not going to have a super long introduction. Is there something you want me to say specifically? I was just going to kind of talk about how, I was super new when I met you, and it's been fun to watch you, like,
Yeah, you
progress.
can say
And
whatever you want. I'll introduce myself too when you're done. So just
okay,
whatever you feel like.
okay, perfect. Okay. I'm gonna start letting people in, and
Okay.
then as soon like when it gets to be 10 o'clock, then I'll just kind of start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, James here. Oh, you can't
It's
see
like
me.
blurry in my background, but James is here. He's kind of sitting in.
Rebecca, I wanted
Oh,
to tell
hi.
you thank you so much for doing this. So kind of waving back here. So thank you.
Hey.
So I'm excited to hear this. So
Yeah, hopefully I
You're gonna do a good
meet
job.
the
we know you'll
expectation.
do fabulous.
Okay. Hopefully you guys who are checking in now can hear me. We're really excited to have Rebecca here. We have a few more minutes while people are kind of logging in. But just make sure you can see her cute picture on the screen so you know you're at the right place. And we'll get started here quickly.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for the invite.
There we go. Eden, I can't hear.
Yeah, I just realized I'm muted as I was talking.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
just talking and just muted. Um, okay, so I just wanted to get started. I know there'll be more people still jumping in, but I am so excited for today. We've done an Elite Agent series before, and it's been a real success to be able to have other agents hear from fellow agents and how they've created a successful environment, the things that they've done so that we can learn from each other. And even when I'm teaching CE classes, it's fascinating to watch how much better the classes are when people are willing to contribute, share their experiences. It makes it so much better that we can learn from each other. And so I'm really excited for Rebecca to be here. When I started in lending 5 years ago, I was brand new and um, I had just got done with a divorce and had been a stay-at-home mom for years and years and years. And so I was jumping in, like some of you newer agents, jumping in with not really a lot of experience, but super excited to learn and grow. And Rebecca was introduced to me by a mutual friend. And I went to lunch with her and I sat down with her and enjoyed her aura. I don't know what you call it, but just the way that she is so fascinating and so fun. And she's such a genuine person. And she was just starting out too. She was a part-time agent. She has little kids even still. So I don't know how she does all that she does, but it's been so fun to watch her on her journey to really an elite agent and her great success. So I'm excited for you to learn from her and hear what she has to say. So Rebecca, it's your turn. And you go by, do you call, most people call you Becky? I call you Rebecca.
Everybody calls me Becky.
Okay.
Everybody calls me Becky. So you can call me Rebecca because I introduce myself as Rebecca and I have it all over my business cards. That's a story for a different slide. But I'm excited to be here this morning. It helps to see some faces on the screen. It makes me less nervous actually because I can talk real estate all day and talk business all day. It's my jam, and I'm here with like-minded people, I can tell. If you're showing up and getting on Zoom, oh, I see Ashley's here. Hi, Ashley. Hi, and there's Bethany. I know some of you, and I'm glad you're here. Carla. Just looking through. Okay, so I'm here with my friends. And if I don't know you, we're going to be friends by the end. So a little bit about me. Um, I am I'm obviously a realtor. I'm a broker. I got my broker's license last year. I've been in
What
real
did you
estate
say
for
about
6
breakfast?
years.
What did you want?
What was that, Greg? Oh, sorry. I've been in real estate for 6 years. I'm a full-time mom. I have 3 kids. I have a 10-year-old son and almost 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter. I'm married. And I'm a full-time realtor and I'm a broker. And I have lots of clients and I do have agents as well at my branch. So I have a lot going on and I love it. I love it. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I decided to get into real estate and my background, just because it will give you a good context of who I am. But I actually got my degree in teaching in elementary education, and I taught school. I taught second grade, and then I taught third grade, and then I got pregnant and decided that I wanted to be a mom and needed to quit my job. It was scary. My husband was still in school. We were so young. I was 23 or 24. Um, and went ahead and quit, even though we didn't really know what we were going to do. And so I had to get a little scrappy. I had a photography business that I ran for a couple of years, and that was fun. But what really was amazing for me is I took a job managing a storage facility, and it gave me the freedom I needed to raise my kids when they were just infants, and I had a lot of free time. I basically had to stay home during business hours because I had an apartment that was attached to the storage facility that I managed. And so during business hours, there was a door in my living room. And if someone came into the office of the business, it would ring a doorbell in my apartment. And I would go through that door, and then all of a sudden I was in the office. And so my job was just to be home with my kids and then manage the office as needed. And the man who owned that storage facility, it's in Spanish Fork. He's a local, you might know him. Um, he was just the most regular, average Joe, but I ran his payroll. And so I knew that he was making like $60,000 every fifth of the month when I ran auto pay, and that's just auto pay. And then people would pay with checks or call in and pay with their card. He was making so much money, and it was pretty passive income. And I was very curious. So I asked him questions. I worked there for a couple of years, and anytime he was in the office, I would like ask him questions like, how did you, decide to do this or decide to do that? And he inspired me. What I learned from him was that the average, you don't have to be above average or exceptional or special to make really good money or to have a really cool job that pays you tons of money, but you actually have a lot of free time too. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be born into money. You don't have to be special. This guy was super average. I mean, you would have never known, right, that he had so much money and he was so successful. And he inspired me a little bit. So I hit it really hard with my photography business that I ran. And I found success in that. I did. But then we bought a house. We were ready to move on, get out of the apartment, buy a house. And I calculated the realtor's commission. And when I did that, it was like a light came on in my mind. I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. Like, that's a lot of money. It's way more than, I was getting paid like $3,000 to do a wedding. And it was a lot of work to do a wedding and edit all the pictures and do the bridals and the engagements. Anyway, and then I decided to do real estate. So that's a little bit of background about me. I didn't come from money. I am the youngest of 7 kids. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I have found what I think is success in real estate, but I also don't think I'm like, it's funny to hear Eden call me an elite agent. I'm just regular, just like all of you that are here. And but I do find it inspiring that us regular people can do great things. And I'm going to hit the next slide. If you guys have comments or questions, I welcome those. This is actually my first video training I've ever done. So please go ahead and put any questions that you have in the comments. And if I don't notice it right away, then we can talk about them at the end. But I want this to be valuable to you. So if you have questions and I feel like I have an answer, I'll give you an answer. Okay. So this mindset, I would say to be successful in real estate, there's 2 components. You have to obviously, work hard, but also you have to get your mind straight first. I think this is true of all business, not just real estate. If your mind is in the right place, you can accomplish so much more than if your mind is in a negative space. And it's really easy to get negative because what we're doing is not easy. There's nobody handing us deals. There's no guarantee we're going to make money. And so it's scary. But did you know that we think about 60,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of them are the same exact thoughts that we thought the day before? And that's because our brain creates neural pathways as we do things that are repetitive, right? Throughout the day, we're doing a lot of the same things all the time. We wake up, we brush our teeth, we get ready, we get our kids ready. We're on our phones all the time, right? We're seeing a lot of the same content because the algorithm feeds it to us. And so we're thinking similar thoughts about all these things we're doing or seeing every day, or the people that we're seeing. We have certain thoughts about them, right? Most of our thoughts are the same as the day before, which can make it really hard to change or to grow. But what we focus on, we create more of. And I really believe that if I have a problem, and I'm constantly thinking about my problem, there will be more problems because I'm searching for problems. However, if I'm looking for something good or looking to grow and I'm focused on growth and I'm focused on good, then I will find more good and I will grow. Opportunities will open up to me. And that's a little bit like manifestation, but I think there's science to it. It's true. And it has to do with our brains and the way we think. I think our brain is the most important tool of all of our body, obviously. Um, but I think it's even more important than we give it credit for, our thoughts and our mindset specifically. So I don't know if any of you have heard of Mel Robbins, but she talks about the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule, she was like going through a divorce and her life sucked and she could barely get out of bed. And she said one day she just decided that she was going to count to 5 and then like just shoot out of bed like a rocket, right? That it didn't really matter how she felt. That's the only way she could get out of bed in the morning. So she one morning she woke up, she felt like garbage, her life was falling apart, and she just counted to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she got out of bed. And that's worked for her. And what it did, I'm not a scientist, but today I'll be a scientist for you. I think what it did is it broke that neural pathway in her brain of like all the negativity and, oh, my life sucks, I can't get out of bed. It gave her something else to focus on and it broke that chain of thought and helped her get up. So I think and the reason I'm saying that is because if you're in a state where you're constantly comparing yourself to someone else, or you feel like you're not good enough in your business right now, pay attention to your thoughts. And if you have to count to 5 to break your thought process, then and break that neural pathway that you're creating, then do it, because you've got to get your mind straight if you want to have success in real estate. And one thing I did learn with my elementary education degree is I learned about metacognition in one of my psychology classes. I've never forgotten it, but it's metacognition means you're thinking about thinking. You're thinking about all the thoughts inside your head and you're paying attention to the voice inside your head. And that's what I would suggest that you start doing if you don't do it already. Probably you do, because I think I'm preaching to the choir, because you're here. The agents who wake up in the morning and get dressed and hop on a Zoom, the agents who are probably doing well or going to do well. But ask yourself, is the voice inside your head serving you? Is it doing what you want it to do? You've got to be your biggest advocate and your biggest cheerleader, because everybody else doesn't care as much as you and maybe even doesn't want you to succeed because it makes them feel small. I don't want to, I'm not everybody, but there's those people, there are. So be your biggest advocate and start paying attention to your mind. When I told you about, or maybe I didn't tell you, I ran through this in my mind, so maybe I was practicing it. But when I was managing that storage facility, we had bought our house and I was still kind of managing it. I was really not making very much money, because when I did work there, the apartment I lived in was free. That was like the perk. So it took all the financial stress off. My husband was still in school. But I had been listening to TED Talks and listening to, if you guys haven't listened to How I Built This by Guy Raz with NPR, I recommend that podcast. It is about average people doing really cool things and starting businesses that you would recognize. But because I was in that space where I was just like soaking up so much positivity. Yeah, How I Built This. Thanks, Eden. When I had the thought, like, should I get my real estate license? Like, I could probably make, if I just sold 2 houses, I could make as much as I'm making right now. I had like a count to 5 moment, and I immediately was like, I'm going to do something. So the idea with count to 5 is don't just think about doing something. When you have the thought that you want to do something, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do something about it. I mean, any answer to any question is just a Google search away from you. If you have a Post-it note next to you and you decide you want to do something, hurry and write it down. And that's what I did. I hurried and wrote down, like, find a real estate school. And I think within 30 minutes, I had paid for the class. And then I called my husband and was like, I just signed up for a real estate class. I'm going to get my license. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. Okay. Imposter syndrome. Forgive me. I hope this is relevant to everybody, but I wrote down things that are relevant to me and what I think has helped me to find success in real estate. So this is one thing that I struggle with. I think it's something that all business owners struggle with. It doesn't really matter if you're in real estate or if you're starting a t-shirt shop. All of us have imposter syndrome, I think. Maybe I'm the only one, and I just tell myself that. But it helps, I think, and that's why I keep telling stories about Dave or about the guy at the storage facility and about me being raised in a family that didn't have a lot of money. I think it really helps to know that the people who are successful are just average people, that there's no secret sauce. You don't have to be born special to do something really cool. And so I have imposter syndrome still. And last year, I think I sold like 30 houses. Um, and I still sometimes question, like, am I just getting lucky or am I actually good at my job? But I know that I'm good at my job, but the voice inside my head, right? Or am I qualified to actually get up new agents specifically? It's probably very hard, I know it is, to get on Instagram and to talk and teach about real estate when you're brand new and you've never bought a house and you've never had a transaction. That's hard. You are going to feel like an imposter, but everybody has to start somewhere. And you probably, hopefully, have a good mentor helping you and giving you advice. And you are qualified, you passed the test, or you will have passed the test if you're a prospective agent that's on here. But just know everybody has to start somewhere. So the reason I put these pictures on here, I put one picture of myself because I think for me personally, I compare myself to other agents, right? Like, well, if I'm just pretending I'm as good as so and so, or if only I could be as good as so and so, or she sells so much more than me. That's one thing that makes me feel like an imposter. But so the middle picture is Barbara Corcoran and the top right is Sarah Blakely. And I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about these people, okay? Sarah Blakely, she is the founder of Spanx. Have we all heard of Spanx? At least the women, hopefully, probably have heard of Spanx. It's an undergarment that makes you look slim and smooth. Sarah Blakely started Spanx with $5,000 of her own money that she had saved over the years. She was selling fax machines door to door, and she had no experience with textiles, no experience with selling a product of her own or designing a product of her own. She was just knocking doors and trying to sell fax machines. She grew Spanx to be, I mean, she's one of the richest women in the United States, and she's an inspiration. If you don't know Sarah Blakely, I recommend that you Google her. She's pretty awesome. She's inspiring. And she is one of my favorite podcast episodes on how I built this. So if you're going to listen to how I built this, start with Sarah Blakely and Barbara Corcoran. Barbara Corcoran's in the middle. She is considered the queen of New York real estate. She built a business from the ground up. What I love about Barbara is that she was also from a huge family, like 10 kids. Her dad, I think, was an alcoholic. They didn't have a ton of money. She was waiting tables when she ran into a guy who was in real estate. She started working for him as a secretary. They dated for years. He was her boyfriend for years. Pretty seriously. I think she like semi helped raise his child. And then she found out that he was cheating on her with with their secretary. And years had gone by. She'd gotten her real estate license. And when they broke up, he told her that she would never succeed in real estate without him. And it lit a fire inside of her. And she became one of the most successful real estate agents in New York City. And now she's on Shark Tank. So telling you all of that just to encourage you. And she says, and I love this quote, she says, success is not determined by how many resources you have. It's determined by how resourceful you are. So if you're scrappy or you're not scrappy, right? You can find a way. Like I said, you're a Google search away from any answer and hopefully a phone call away if you have a good broker. And then a quote that someone told me when I was actually starting teaching on the first day, right before the first day of school. I'd never taught a class in my life. And someone said, one of the people who was training us before school started said, you just fake it till you make it. And that's cliche, but it's the truth. Fake it till you make it. And then if you listen to Taylor Swift, fake it till it's true. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, stop worrying about what everybody thinks. Stop worrying about what your sister-in-law is going to say about you, or what your mom is going to say, or just stop worrying about it. Or this is the most common thing you're going to hear, or you have heard is, oh, real estate's so saturated. I know like 50 real estate agents, you know. I hope you can make it. You can, and you will. There's enough business to go around, and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. The people who are criticizing you or putting doubt into your mind, they're not doing as much as you. They're too scared. As humans, we all try to protect ourselves. It's like part of our DNA. It's natural selection. We like avoid risk. And some people just can't take the risk and do real estate, but you can, and you're here and you're doing it, and you're doing more than most people already have. Okay, next slide. This is where we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So I talked about mindset for a while because I think it is even the most important thing. And if you couple good mindset with hard work, you're going to be successful no matter what. So what would I do if I was to start over again on day one? I'm going to tell you what I did, and you can take it or leave it, and some of it will work for you and maybe some of it won't. Choose the right broker. So I don't know how many of you are prospective agents, but I think there's a few of you on here. When you're done with your license, you're going to want to interview a couple different brokers. If you're with a broker right now who's not inspiring you, who's not answering the phone, rethink it. If you're not feeling served by your brokerage, rethink that. So that's step number one. Step number two, choose a mentor. If you're a new agent, you for sure need someone to hold your hand and walk you through the process, because in real estate school, you're going to learn about how you can get sued, but you're not going to learn how to sell a house, right? So you need someone to teach you how to sell a house. And then find a good lender partner. So because when I started real estate, I had just bought a home, I had a lender that I could call and talk to all the time. This is right before I met Eden. And then I did meet Eden, and I love Eden. And I work with Eden a lot. We have to refer people to more than one lender, just to keep ourselves safe. But she's always like my first recommendation, and then I'll throw in a second. But I love Eden. It helps to have a lender that you can call on the phone and ask questions to, and get creative with. It's very important, and learn from, because you're going to have to come up with content. And especially if you're first starting, one of the things you can talk about is all the different loans that are available, or different areas that you could do zero down, or misconceptions about real estate. Those are really easy content ideas. Okay. The next thing you should do if you're starting on day one is tell everybody that you know that you do real estate. It's scary, but you have to stop worrying about what everybody thinks and just do it. When I started, I think I went through my contact list in my phone, and I just text everybody one by one, at night after my kids went to sleep. Like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I got my real estate license. And if you or anyone you know is thinking about moving or has a real estate related question, I'd love to be someone that you remember is a realtor and help you if you need help. And that, you're not going to get every single person that you text, but at least they know. Now they know. The other place you're going to want to do that is online, which is, for me, the scariest. I just have never felt comfortable on Instagram or Facebook putting myself out there, but I try really hard to do it because I know it's important. And you guys can go stalk my Instagram, and you'll see, you can go all the way back down in the history and see how I've changed things up over the years. And start posting. Okay. So yeah, you're going to want to start posting content ideas. You can post initially if you don't even have, if you're in between listings or you don't have anything going on, I recommend that you pretend that you are. Okay. you have access to the MLS. Make appointments for houses that you want to see and show people, that you're there. Get your phone out while you're in the house. And I'm looking at the cutest house. It doesn't have to be anything about buying the house. I'm looking at the cutest house. I love this sink. Show the sink or whatever. You just want people to remember that you are a realtor. And you don't have to be obnoxious, but you do have to be consistently posting. You want to stay top of mind in people's mind that you're a real estate agent. I try when I post, I'm really putting myself on the line, you guys, because if you go stalk me now, you're going to judge me. I try to be either, when I'm actually talking, to be educational or inspirational, or just to bring value in some way. And not all about me all the time. Because I think sometimes in real estate, we tend to be all about me all the time because we have to toot our own horn. Nobody does it for us. But one quote, I didn't write this down to tell you, but one thing I tell myself or try to remind myself is that I'm not the hero in the story. My clients are the hero in the story. If I'm always talking about myself in a way that pumps me up all the time, then it's going to get annoying to them. What matters is them. They matter. So stories about how we got what they needed, or stories about how grateful I am that whatever happened for them. It's about them. It's not about me. All right. Open houses. I think that by far the best way to get new clients is to hold open houses. When I first started, I'm not from Utah. I'm from California. I don't have like tons of friends that I went to high school with. So I really was starting from zero. And holding open houses is a great way to get buyers and sellers. So I'll give you some real estate or some open house stories. My very first listing that I ever had was this little twin home in kind of a dumpy area in Springville. And I sat open houses at that place like once a month. It took like 6 months to sell. This is before the market went nuts. It was 2018 or 2019. Anyway, I met a young couple at one of the open houses, and they brought their mother-in-law, and they didn't really like the home that I was showing or the neighborhood. There was something about it that they didn't, love, but they also wanted to see a different home. They didn't have an agent, and I was able to finish that open house up. But before they left, I made an appointment with them to show them a different place after the open house. So I would say when you're holding an open house, the goal should be always, if someone comes in without an agent, that you already have in mind similar properties to the one that you're showing. There's something about the house you're showing that got them there, walking through the door. Before they leave that house, you should have a different property that if they don't like it, obviously you're trying to sell that house, right? If they don't like that house, have other properties that are similar in mind that you can make an appointment for right there. You want to make appointments, not talk about making appointments, make appointments. And this couple, they wanted to see a different house. So after the open house, I took them somewhere else. I ended up representing them as buyers and helped them buy a different townhouse. I also found a buyer for my listing, sold the listing. But this specific couple, just from holding an open house, they've bought a townhouse with me. They sold the townhouse and they've bought a single family home. And the mother-in-law that was with them the next year sold 3 houses with me and then purchased a house in St. George. So off of just that one open house and making an appointment with one buyer, I had like 7 transactions and I probably made like $100,000, all said and done. That's the power of an open house. But the key is to make appointments right then. Another key thing I think that has helped me be successful, and it's not on here, I'm just thinking out loud, is to be extremely responsive. So some people have great boundaries and I don't. If I'm awake, I always tell my clients, if I'm awake and you need me, I'll respond to you. Unless I'm with a client or, at the movies with my kids or something. If I'm awake and I'm available, I'm gonna respond to you right away. And the one thing that can help you be really successful is anytime that anybody shows interest in seeing a home, the faster you can get to that house and show that house, the better turnover you're going to have with them becoming an actual client. So if you have a broker that's handing you leads, which might be rare, but if you do, you want to respond to that lead immediately, as fast as you can. If you wait, there's a high likelihood you're going to get ghosted. But if you respond right then and get them into the house as soon as you can, then you're going to have a greater chance of turning them over into a real client. Now, the NAR ruling has really thrown a wrench into this for me. We're having to get creative, right, with how we have them sign touring agreements or sign the buyer broker basically before we even open a door for them. What I recommend is that you just do a temporary buyer broker or a property specific buyer broker and just really chill, explain like, hey, I don't want to tie you down. I don't want you to feel like you have to use me if you don't like me. So let's just sign this. I need to have it signed to open the door, but I'm just going to write it for just this property, or I'm just going to write it for just this weekend. And then after this weekend, we can reassess. Like if you feel good, we'll move forward. If you don't, no pressure. Like I don't want you to force you to work with me. But that way you're covered too. If they end up making an offer on one of those properties, you will get paid, right? One of the homes you showed. Another piece of advice for new agents is learn right away how to do a great CMA and offer to do CMAs, because people are very interested in knowing the value of their home. And if you can find sellers, then you're going to have two transactions. You're going to have a sale and a purchase. So sellers are awesome. And then if you can find a seller, the best way to get leads is open houses and your own listings, people calling you on your own listings. I'll tell you another open house story. Last year, one of my friends was selling her own house, and so she asked me if I would hold the open house. She didn't want to sit her own open house. So I said, sure. I went and I sat the open house, and I also had a listing in a different town. So one of the people who came through didn't like that house. They did have an agent already, so I couldn't use them as my own buyer somewhere else. But I told them about my other listing and they bought the other house. Okay. So they bought my listing. Then another couple came through that wasn't represented and they wanted to write an offer on the house I was sitting and asked me to write it for them. So I wrote an offer on the house, sold it to them. And then one of those two people had a house to sell and I sold a house. So I got 3 transactions out of one open house. I'm telling you, I believe in open houses. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Oh, I wrote, when in doubt, just be yourself. That's a mom thing. My mom literally had to tell me that like last year. I called her because I was feeling torn about being my own brand. All of us are our own brand in real estate. That's such a tricky thing. When we put ourselves out there, we are the face of our business and our brand. We don't have a product we're selling or like special colors to use. It's you. You are your brand. And I get in my head about that sometimes. Because I feel like real estate is so flashy and I want to be super professional, but I also want to be personable and relatable to people and not too flashy. And my mom's advice is, when in doubt, just be yourself. That's what your mom would tell you. And it's the truth. Okay, next slide. Okay, client care. So this is a big one for me. I believe, like I said, that our clients are the hero in the story. It's not about us, it's about them. And the more we focus on them, the better our business will be. Because other than, going out and fishing for our own leads and trying really hard to find people to help, once you start getting clients, word of mouth referrals are stronger than anything else. And you want your clients to refer you, and they will, as long as you're so good to them and you put them first and you really, really are being a good fiduciary. So, and I love that because it's fun to serve people. And my favorite marketing dollars that I spend are on other people. Like, well, let's just go down my list, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, provide exceptional service from start to finish. Go above and beyond. Be prepared. Bring value. Don't just open doors. Okay. And don't just stick a sign in the yard. Do more than that. Um, be available. I already talked about the importance of being available, in my opinion. Um, don't let it end at the closing table. So nurture your clients even after closing because their referrals, like I said, will come. And also keep a record of each person that you've done a deal with. If you don't have a list, get into SkySlope or whatever system you're using and go back in time and start compiling an Excel spreadsheet of all the different property addresses that you've sold and phone numbers, email addresses, because that it's wasted time if you don't. You've done all that work, you've gotten all the way to the closing table. Why would you let it die? You need to be touching those people, right? Touching those people a couple times a year at least. And some ideas, some things that I do, I send a quarterly magazine. I might have to email you after. I can't remember which company I use, but it's a magazine that I send out automatically. I can go in and I can update it, but the articles and stuff are written by someone else and I can kind of tweak it and make it what I want it to be. But it's just something that goes to their house that reminds them that I'm a professional in the real estate industry and it's pretty. And I think most people actually read it and keep it in their home. And my face is on the front. Another thing I do is occasional pop buys. So, I have a girl I pay. I can give you her phone number if you want. She's awesome. I give her a budget per person and then tell her kind of what I want. Do I want a fall basket? Do I want Valentine's is coming up? So I'm starting to think, okay, I'm going to plan a cute little Valentine's, something, a gift. It doesn't have to be expensive. There can be, and that expensive is different for you than it is for me or whatever. All of us have different ideas of how much money is expensive or not. But come up with something, even if it's just a Valentine's Day card, send something to your client. If you have their birthdays, text them on their birthday. On Facebook, if you see their birthday, you know, tell them happy birthday on Facebook. Another thing is, and I even do this when I'm not actually in the area, but if I'm in an area that has a home I've sold before, I'll text my client and say, "Oh, hey, I just drove by your house. Like it made me think of you and I hope you're doing great." And that's something I started doing even if I'm not in the area. It's just an easy way to start talking to someone and say hi and see how they're doing without making it about necessarily about business, right? That's what that bullet point, find reasons to talk to them means, is if you have to make up reasons, make up reasons. If they're into dogs, you can say you saw a dog, right? That reminded you of them. And then take genuine interest in their lives. So my favorite marketing dollars are spent on life events, and being a good friend. That is the gift and blessing of being in real estate is we get to be rewarded for being good friends. When your friend has a baby, send a baby blanket, send some Red Bulls. If their family member dies, send some flowers. Like send a meal, actually, is what I typically default to, or give them a Costco gift card. Just whatever you can to be a good friend goes a long way. Okay, slide 7.
There's a question in the
Oh.
chat if you want to answer that.
Sure. Let's see.
Do you use a certain software for tracking your clients' progress, leads, etc.?
Okay, I should. I have access to one that I just got a CRM. I haven't uploaded my spreadsheet to it. So I want that because it will automate it for me. And I think if you have access to one, you should certainly use it. If you don't have access to one, a Google spreadsheet goes a long way. And what I also do is I keep hot leads and cold leads. So hot leads are all the people who I think are going to buy, pretty soon, or I'm showing houses to actively or whatever. And my hot leads, let me show you what I do. It's very simple. See how you can pin people to the top of your text message conversations? The people that I pin up here, it's not my husband. I pin my clients that I'm doing deals with and my clients that I feel like are a hot lead up here so that I see their face every day and I know that I should be checking in with them every single day. And then I keep a list, just a handwritten list, baby. Or you could even use a spreadsheet, or a CRM is a great tool. CRM takes all these ideas and like makes it simple for you. But keep a list of all your cold leads too. People that you need to just make up excuses to talk to because they've mentioned they're thinking about selling their house next year, right? That's a cold lead. But I don't use a specific one. I have one that I just got that I need to convert all of my clients over to. Okay, and this is my last slide. So any other questions that you guys have? I don't know if I'm talking to like all seasoned agents or brand new agents or prospective agents. I'm probably preaching to the choir. I have a feeling there's some top producers in here.
I'm brand new, Rebecca, and I really appreciate it. There's been some great information here.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad that it was helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm new also. Thank you so much. It's been inspiring.
good. I'm so glad. I think you guys are going to do awesome. Let's see. There's a question. Brand new agent in the state of Utah. What's your script when people walk into your open house? Great question. So when people come into the open house, I have a completely different approach. I should have said this a long time ago. I do not make people sign in on a special sheet. I feel like it turns everybody off. So what I do is, oh, hi, Lori. What I do is I just bring like a piece of paper, and I sit at the kitchen table or wherever feels comfortable for me. I usually get treats. I try to buy something that I would want to eat. So like Twix, fun size Twixes and Snickers, like something I actually would want to eat one of them. And water bottles, like super simple. Have a very laid back approach to open houses. The most important thing you can do is initially, before the open house, start marketing it online and talk about it and put it out there and put it on KSL and put it everywhere that you can put it. But once someone walks into the open house, I just talk about them. That's what I do. They walk in, I say, hey, grab a treat, walk around, see the house. But before you leave, this is my key line. Before you leave, promise me that you'll stop by and tell me what you think. Good, bad, ugly. I promised the seller that I would tell them what people thought. And then they typically do. When they come back to me, I say, hey, what did you think? Or if they're like awkward, some people try to avoid you, and every once in a while, one will get away. I hate those people. But usually they'll talk to you. If you're just nice and laid back and they don't feel, really the concern is like they're afraid you're going to hound them later. Nobody wants to be hounded. And I sometimes will even say, like, don't worry, I'm not going to text you all day long every day, but tell me what you thought. And then I'll ask, as they're telling me what they thought. Well, where are you from? Oh, awesome. Remind me, what's your name again? I write their name down. I write down notes after they leave. I write down where they're from. I write down anything they told me about them that I can remember. And hopefully I've made an appointment to show them a different house, right? But if I haven't, I typically I ask, instead of who's your agent, or instead of do you have an agent, I say, who is your agent? Because if they don't have an agent, they're going to stumble on that question. If you ask, do you have an agent? They're going to say yes. Okay, even if they don't. So don't ask, do you have an agent? Ask, who is your agent? And then if they stumble, say, it's okay if you don't have one. It's not a big deal. And at that point, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we don't really have one. And just say, well, since you don't have one, I always ask because I don't want to step on any other realtor's toes. But since you don't have one, if they've given you negative feedback, then you can say something like, I get it. You need an office on the main. I have been searching the MLS and I actually know of another property really close in this price range, close to this area or whatever. You've been listening to them, so you know what they want that might really work for you. I can show it to you today if you want. I'm free after whatever time. Do you want to go? And that's what I do. I'm gonna look at these really quick.
Hey, Becca,
Yeah.
James here. I got a question for you. So
Okay.
you're a mom, you're a top producing agent, you're a broker, you're managing and helping other agents. What are some tips for how you do it all?
Tips for how I do it all. Well, if I'm being honest, I still have imposter syndrome too. So I don't want to toot my horn too hard. But what I do is I I try to time block my time. So I know that between certain hours of the day, my kids are all going to be at school and on certain days a week. And so I keep that as like my sacred real estate time. If anyone needs to meet me in person, if anybody wants me to do a Zoom, I plan it for that time period. And then thankfully, I do have a supportive husband. So that goes a long way if you have a spouse that's supportive to you and will is able to be home at night to show houses. But if you don't, I suggest making, choosing a good friend or family member and blocking out your time and choosing what days and times are going to be work times and what days and times are going to be mom time and finding someone to help you and depending on your budget, right? Like obviously there's daycare centers that you could use, but if you don't have the budget for that, then time chunk it out, figure out how you can time block. That's my big suggestion there. I honestly, James, I'm still working on that. Sometimes I feel crazy.
As we all are.
There's another question in the chat. It says, I live in Midway. Is it Jeannie? Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I live in Midway. I've been an agent for over 10 years. Open houses are hard. We're lucky to get one person. Do you have any suggestions on getting people to come?
Yes. So I didn't hear the first part. I just know she's in Midway. So, okay, agent for 10 years, open houses are hard. Hey, everybody hates open houses, but if you can be good at open houses, you're going to make the money. Also, if you don't have a listing, ask other agents if you can hold open houses for them because people hate holding open houses, but that's where all the good leads come. I'm telling you, it's true. So my criteria are I will only hold an open house unless it's my listing. If I'm holding an open house for someone else, I only want to hold an open house on a property that is brand new to the market, first weekend, or the first weekend after a significant price drop. And you can use your discretion on that. Do you think people are going to show up? Is it a good enough price drop and property that you think people are going to show up to the open house? And then I like to have time right before the open house that agent has put on the MLS. And you have to make sure that they do this for you or you do it for yourself. But you need to make sure that open house is on the MLS, hopefully all week before that open house. So all week long, anyone who's looking on the map or looking around on the MLS is going to see there's an open house. And then you have about a week or a few days at least to blast it all over social media. You could, this is the type of post that I might boost on Facebook if I was going to boost a post to a specific neighborhood. And also door knocking. Some people have had great success with door knocking. That's something I want to try and be better at this next year. But if you talk to the neighbors and just say, hey, I'm just letting you know, I'm holding an open house and your neighbor's selling their house. We'd love to have a great show out. It's going to help them sell their house for more if there's a lot of people. And I know that affects your value. So I would love it if you come, bring your family and friends. If you want to pick your neighbor, bring someone with you. That's kind of the wording I would use. And that will go a long way. I know some open houses are just duds, but some of them you're going to have, even if it's just one buyer that comes through without an agent, it's worth it.
Can I throw something in there as well about open
Mhm.
houses?
Mhm.
So I did an open house last weekend, and with the door knocking, I actually had three neighbors come through, and all they said was, "Hey, we're nosy neighbors. We want to know." And it gets that flow and it gets that traffic and it gives you that conversation. I also did cold calls in the area 2 days before, just as a reminder, like, hey, we're doing this open house. If anyone that you want to know comes through. And it was actually the first open house that I had about 9 couples come through. It was the best turnout that I had. So that's a little way to kind of boost it, besides putting it on social media, doing the door knocking and calling as well the week before.
It goes a long way. I think that's so awesome. Good job being brave enough to do it because that's the scary part. But it paid off. That's amazing.
Hey, Rebecca and everybody else. My name's Kyle. I'm a home builder, and the reason I'm here is I am trying to get inside the minds of agents so that I could try to better understand how to solve an issue that I'm seeing time and time again. And what the issue is that in Utah here, 90% of the sales have a co-broke on it. And the challenge for us, and with inventory levels being low, new home does start to open up and become a good option for your clients.
Hmm.
Um, but the chat, so yeah, so there's a 90% co-broke on most of the deals. And the challenge that I'm seeing, and I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of align these two different motivations. And so from what I see and understand and taken from the call, the, and I can empathize. My parents were career realtors, and so the main motivation is protecting the client. You talked about customer relations, but ultimately, you're investing a lot of time and energy, and that's how you're going to put food on the table. So you got to preserve that commission, and so that's a main motivating factor. And on our side as a builder, our main motivating factor is, we want to sell that house quickly, and we know how the home was built. Without said, we are going to do a better job of selling that house because we're more motivated to sell that house. Our motivation is to sell that house, just like your motivation is to provide or procure a transaction with that one particular client.
Hmm.
And where the rub comes in is with appointments, because our objective is to get information on the buyers, because we believe if we understood what are the buying motivations, what are, is it an expanding family, is it a contracting family, is it a job change, what is the buying motivation, help us understand these buyers a little bit more. We pay 3%. We want to get that deal done. We want to put money in your pocket, but every single time the agent is like a gatekeeper, and it's they don't want us at the showing. I'm trying to get my agent to get in a habit, like they feel uncomfortable being at a showing because they feel like, that nosy salesperson in a store that's, oh, is there anything that you see that you might like, like that kind of a feeling. They don't want that. And a little bit of is training on our side, but there's these two different motivations. They're aligned very much in a way. And what my hope is to find a non-confrontational way to bring these things into alignment. So, number one, my agents feel very comfortable attending the showing, being a resource in trying to help to move that property, which puts money in your pocket, and in order to do that, we need a clear line of communication about the buyer. How are they being motivated? I just got off a call previous to this, and you mentioned something about the sign-in sheet. The only way we can get the buyer's information is if we build enough trust during that initial appointment that they would be willing to put down some information on a sheet. And I have had very, very low success with this, and I'm just looking for some feedback on a way to kind of align these differing motivations, but yet, it's to the same goal. And so any feedback or thoughts on that would be super helpful.
Right. So I thought of one thing, a couple of things. But if you make an appointment with someone at an open house, you're probably going to text them about where you're going. That's the easiest way to get someone's phone number, is to put their phone number in your phone. Hey, oh, what's your phone number? Instead of writing it down. Like, for some reason, writing it down on a piece of paper or making them write it down feels scary, like they're going to get spammed. But if you have a good reason to text them, or if you're going to, I would recommend for you or your agents that you have digital brochures or digital information about whatever incentive you're offering, so that you have a great reason to text them that they want that value, they want that information, and you have a good reason to text them. And it's easy to say, oh, and it's also kind of like on the spot. All right, I actually have a brochure. It's digital. What's your phone number? I'm going to text it to you. That's so natural and normal. You'd probably have more success with that than just handing them a brochure and asking to write down their phone number. As far as you're talking about your sales agent showing up for showings with buyer's agents, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you should hire me. Just kidding. What you need to do is, what price point are you at?
It varies. I mean, I've got some stuff in Grantsville in the like 520, 530. I've got one in Ogden at 475, and then I've
Okay.
got some stuff in Eagle Mountain that is sub five and then like 525.
Okay. So I typically, when I have a listing that's over $1 million and yours aren't, but this is the same thing, your agents represent you as the builder. If you want your agents to show up to the showing, you can ask that of them and they should do it because we are in a service-based industry and what our client wants is what we do. If they want us to show up for every showing to their house, we can. And I know that because it's common sense, but also it's really common for expensive listings for the listing agent to show up for showings. They don't have to be intrusive. I would train them not to be because the buyers do have a right to privacy and they don't have to give you all their, it's negotiation chips is what it is. If they tell you everything about them, then they sometimes lose their ability to negotiate. And as a buyer's agent, that's what I'm thinking. But as a listing agent, it's really helpful to know all of that stuff. Like you're saying, you want to know it all. It's going to help you. So I would recommend that your agents say, they're more than happy to show to accommodate that showing and that they will be present at the showing, but they won't be in their face. They're going to give them space. Hey, how you doing? And they can build trust by not following them around every square foot of that house. They can sit in the front room and let them look around and treat it like an open house and at the end say, okay, like my, same words that I use at the open house. The builder just really wants to know what you like, what you don't like. We're trying to get feedback moving forward. Good, bad, and ugly, tell us your thoughts. And they will, I think, as long as that agent gives them space and is upfront at the beginning, like, hey, I'm just going to wait right here. I'm not going to follow you around. Let me know your thoughts. I think it will be just fine.
Rebecca, can I jump in here?
Uh-huh.
I just sold a home or helped a buyer buy a home in Richmond American. I thought it was the best thing that the sales associate from Richmond American did come to the home.
Mm-hmm.
He had more answers than I could possibly give because I'm just the buying agent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything. And we did stand back and we let the new buyer look around the house and they had a list of questions
Mm-hmm.
that I couldn't answer for them. So I believe that's a good thing to have them. Number two is holding an open house. I'm a real estate agent in California and in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be honest with you, in Utah, I have the most horrible experience when I go to open houses here. The agents are underqualified to be holding the open house because they know nothing about the house that they're standing in right then. And I
Mm-hmm.
put it in the text as well, or in your chat. If you're going to do an open house, do the open houses possibly around your community, your neighborhood, your home.
Mm-hmm.
That way when people ask, oh, hey, what about the house over on South Titus? You better know about that house.
Yes. I agree
That's
with you, Mark. That's all comes down to bringing value. And I know I have an agent on here who I just have been coaching through this. She's one of mine. But you always want to over prepare. If you over prepare, you're going to be less nervous and you're going to bring more value. Look up, like I said, it's going to benefit you and the other people coming to the open house. If you know what other houses around are for sale, if you've looked at those houses, and then also you want to know this house inside and out. If it's your listing, hopefully you do, and you've asked the seller all the questions that buyers are going to ask about the property line, about the schools, about, you know, all the things buyers ask. Hopefully you know all of that. But if it's not your listing and it's someone else's listing, you want to treat it like it's yours. Mark makes a really good point. Your open house will be as fruitful as your efforts. So put in a lot of effort up front and be, give yourself as many tools as possible to be successful, even if it takes time up front to get all those answers, you want to do that because
Rebecca,
you'll have a lot more success.
can I throw one more thing in there? For God's sakes, put together a flyer with your name on it, even though it's not your listing,
Yes.
because when that person leaves to go to three other homes, they are not going to remember
Mm-hmm.
who was that guy. And if they do call that listing back, they're going to call the listing agent instead of you.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you
That's not what you want to happen. So you should have a flyer
will
and
make her. By the way, that's my biggest complaint.
No.
You're breaking up a little bit, Mark.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, I was going to add to that your lender should be able to help you with a flyer. And it's really nice to have the lender help because different areas have different loan programs available. Specifically, USDA is a big one in my area. That's a zero down loan. And, she can do side-by-side comparisons on a piece of paper of like how much down payment you need, what your estimated payment would be, like really basic stuff that people like to know. And then you have your lender's information on one side of it with loan options or possible loan options, and then your information on the other side of it with details about the house.
I put in, Rebecca, just real quick, a plug for list reports. We pay for list reports, so it's free for agents. But list reports, if you pair with me and go on there or with your other lender, it will give you flyers. It will pull things from the MLS. It will show the schools and all the things that you need to know. And it will do an open house flyer for you too. So that's a good resource as you're learning and getting used to all this stuff. I can send that a link so that you can sign up for that. It's free.
Awesome. Thanks, Eden.
I do have something to say. I think this might be helpful for Kyle, the builder. I represent two builders, and we always are expected to be there, right, with the clients because, like, someone else was saying, I think Mark, we do know more about what we can do, the upgrades, just all about the home. And for us to be able to get the phone numbers for some of the clients that would go in there without agents, it was so easy as, hey, we have another home that, will be ready or another spec. If you want to drive by or you want to go see the neighborhood where we're going to be building these new homes, I'll be happy to send you the pin. And so it was so easy for us to get their phone numbers with that way because
Yeah, that's a good
we
idea.
would just text the pin to them.
That's a great idea. Okay, I haven't even looked at
I've been watching the chat.
Okay, good.
I appreciate all that, guys. I think one of my big things is I'm not from the sales side of things, and just hearing you guys say all this, I need to build my confidence and really just kind of pushing these agents that they really do need to be at these open houses. I get a whole host of excuses as to why, or not open houses. I'm sorry, the showings. I just need to be more, I need to be stronger in saying that, hey, we need to have you there at every single one. So I appreciate the feedback. And also I appreciate the Blake Lively and Barbara references. If you want to look at a really good podcast is Tim Ferriss and Barbara Kokorian. She talks about her experience when she was coming up, and there's this really cool analogy about cats. You guys will love it. Tim Ferriss and Barbara and Sarah just came out with this new shoe. She's on to like her next venture. She spent like the last couple of years designing a high heel for women that lives like a sneaker. They're like $400, but I want to get my wife one. It's really cool. But those are great references. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, I think we're close to being done. Rebecca, thank you so much for coming and for chatting with us. You're an amazing human, and we appreciate your time. And thank you to everybody who came. We are recording this, so Rebecca can send that out to some of the people who couldn't come. If you had anybody who couldn't make it, or if you want to share it with somebody, feel free to reach out to me and I can send you the link. So
Awesome. Thanks, Eden.
make sure your 2025 is great. Let's all be successful together and have a great day.
Hey, bye, guys.
Thanks, Becky. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks, Eden.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Let me